Last week we were invited by Warner Brothers to the Hogwarts studios down in London for an exclusive gameplay preview of Hogwarts Legacy. It's exactly what we saw, the gameplay we experienced, and how we felt about it. The day started with a quick 2.5-hour train down to London, which you could see was wonderful. After a quick walk through London, it was time to get on the train and head over to Watford Junction, home of the Harry Potter studios. After meeting with our Warner Brothers representative, we got on the night bus to the studios themselves. Once we arrived there, we were greeted by our hosts. We each got given our own special and unique Hogwarts Legacy wand, which we'll show later. But for now, it's time for a presentation from the director from Hogwarts Legacy. For obvious reasons, we can't show this. But after that, it was time to head into the studios themselves. The whole event took place right next to the Hogwarts Express, which we were free to look at afterwards. The feeling of being next to the actual Hogwarts Express really added to the experience. Kicking things off, we were straight into the character customization section, which as you can no doubt see is ridiculously in depth. You're able to sculpt and mold your character into any way you want. Even choosing from an initial trio of glasses, you can adjust everything from your character's face shape, skin tone, and even the hair, and there's a really wide range of hair colours to choose from as well. You could alter things like your character's complexion, and the amount of freckles and moles that they have. And if you really want to make your character look like they've been through the wars, there was a number of scars available to mix through as well. Unfortunately, you can't get Harry's scar, but you can be creative with some of the options that you've got here. You can then go into even more detail on your character with a wide range of eye colours as well as eyebrow selections. And here was the nice part, so no matter what gender your character is, you can choose between a male or female voice, as well as altering the pitch. The pitches go from extremely low to highly squeaky. I have to admit I accidentally put my character's voice on the maximum pitch and forgot to turn it back down, so any footage you see from now on has a very, very squeaky voice.
That was quite something. It was wonderful. I believe I'm really going to enjoy this class.
Straight after that, we were dropping into Hogwarts. Although some of the textures were a bit iffy, when I first saw that Hogwarts castle I was absolutely stunned. The game looked gorgeous and it was so in detail. Straight away we were told to jump on our broom, which was dead easy to do. And then we were off, we're flying over the Hogwarts castle and grounds. Immediately I noticed the Quidditch pitch, so I was going straight there. We know already that Quidditch is not in the game, or at least it might not be for a while yet. It's unconfirmed still. Maybe I was doing some wishful thinking going over the Quidditch pitch hoping something would happen. Alas, it did not, but the pitch still looked glorious and there was a couple of students on there milling about. Ascending into the sky, I got a good look at the castle, and wow, it is detailed. It looks like they've sculpted every single part of this castle, almost like they knew you were going to get on your broom and explore it like I was. I found a little alcove here which I tried to settle down in, but ultimately I couldn't seem to get off my broom, which didn't matter in the end because it meant I could explore the castle some more. Flying over the roof, I thought it's time to land here. I need to have a look what's around these grounds. You can see I had a quest on the side, but immediately I was ignoring that, because there was a quest about the Summoner's Court that had caught my eye. I was intrigued as to what it was, so I went over and started it. Talking to Leander Pruitt, he challenged me to a game. Honestly, I had no idea what I was doing on this, so it was pretty much guesswork. Basically, it's like a wizard's version of shuffleboard, where the closer you bring these large balls to you without them falling off the edge, the more points you'll get. And to say I was quite impressed with this performance. I didn't really know how to use any of the spells yet because we completely skipped the tutorials, so I felt it was pretty well done for a first attempt. At least I scored some points. Obviously I didn't keep up with Leander's attempts, so I ended up losing the game. He challenged me to a rematch, but I've got no time for that. I've got to go explore Hogwarts. So I said bye to Leander and headed inside the castle. And whoa, this castle is so detailed. It looks incredible. Every single part of this has been worked on, and you can tell it's just created for curious people. I was constantly looking around thinking, there's going to be nothing here, or there's going to be a blank patch here. The team behind this knew you were constantly going to be looking around here, trying to pick out little bits that they might have missed, or somewhere that wasn't as busy as somewhere else. But everywhere I looked in the castle had something going on, whether it was the portraits moving, the suits of armour talking to themselves, objects on the wall moving, or just students in general milling around. Inside the castle felt so alive, and even though it's cliche to say, it felt like a real life Hogwarts. It really elevated the game from just beyond a wizard experience to a wizard life. The hustle and bustle around Hogwarts felt like you were living as a student, which is exactly what they want to do. Even when I went out onto this bridge, there were people flying around outside on their brooms. It wasn't even like it was a quick time event or something that was specifically for that part of the game. This just happens all day, every day. The whole school is alive. Even going into this section, this poor student was ended up being tortured by Peeves the poltergeist.
Please, Peeves, you'll make me late.
He tried to stop me, did rancorous carp, sought to trap me, confine me inside of a jar. But he failed, as did his containment charms, so I took my revenge to wreak havoc and harm.
Honestly, it's fantastic to see Peeves included because he was such a fun part of the books, yet got completely omitted from the films. When I was talking to the team from Warner Brothers there, they said they were very keen to bring a lot of elements from the books that had been missed from the films. They know how much the books mean to fans, so they wanted to expand on that and bring all of that to Hogwarts Legacy to make it the most interactive fan experience possible. Once I'd crossed another bridge, I'd finally reached my goal. and here I was about to talk to Luke and Brattleby. This young student organises and coordinates the Cross One Society.
Sebastian told me to see you about a club.
If Sebastian vouches for you, that's all I need to know. I coordinate duels for crossed ones. A dueling club of sorts. It's invitation only, so you must have really impressed Sebastian.
This club basically teaches you how to duel as a wizard. As you'll see here, these two wizards have a protective shield around them. There are two different types of protective shield, and we'll see the other one in a minute. But for this one, you had to use Levicorpus to break it. Only then would you be able to attack them and break down the defences. What it didn't mention in the tutorial was that you don't actually have to use Levicorpus to break the shields. You could actually pick up an object and throw it at them and it does the same effect. But with objects being few and far between, it's probably wise to use Levicorpus itself. After that, it was time for our first mission, where we headed out into a snowy environment. Here we're tasked with dealing with some poachers, who apparently were tracking and stealing some dragons, all because they wanted to harvest the dragon eggs, which, as we know from the first Harry Potter film, are worth an absolute fortune. We jump forward a lot here, and our level had increased massively. As you can see now in the bottom right corner, we have a different selection of spells available to us. The one at the top was Reparo, in the left on the middle was a spell which turns you invisible, at the bottom was Expelliarmus, and in the middle on the right was Crucio. Yes, you can learn these dark spells, and we do use it later, so keep an eye out for that one. Continue down through this mission, we were tasked with taking out some poacher trackers. Now, you can do this stealthily, but that's a bit boring for this video, so we won't fall out on it. You can see here, just simply pressing R1 picks up these boxes and launches them at people. At that point, we've blown our cover. But it doesn't matter, because we've got a series of spells which can protect us here. Immediately moving on the action, it's fast flowing and at its very best. As you can see there, we utilised the finishing move, which transfigured one of these characters into a chicken. The finishing moves are done by using L1 and R1 at the same time. And rather like what you used to in Marvel's Spider-Man, the finisher meter is built up by combining consecutive spells together, all without being hit. After that sudden explosion, we were ready to enter the poacher's tent. Upon doing so, we were greeted with this cutscene, which basically showed that the captured dragons were being used to fight against each other. Stories like this really expanded on the Hogwarts Legacy universe, and gave it a lot more depth than simply just going to school and living out your life there. With this, we were able to go much more in depth and explore the vast lands that Hogwarts Legacy had to offer. Now it was time to carry on with our mission. It was time to get a bit stealthy. In this part, we learnt how to do a stealth kill. Basically, you go into invisibility mode, go up to your target without them noticing you, and smash square. This allowed you to do the Petrificus Totalis spell and completely knock your enemy out. Once we worked through a few more enemies, we reached this dragon egg puzzle. Basically, you have to use the LNR sticks to move the sparks around and rotate the dials. The idea is to make both of the gears correspond with each other, and this will release the lock. You knew that the green one was aligned when the controller started vibrating, and then it was just a case of moving the red one to fit in line with that. After this, it was time for an epic duel to finish the level off. Here we were faced up against a number of poacher trackers, as well as some nasty looking goblins. I have to say the goblins really packed a punch, and it's quite hard to track where everybody was at the same time. The little hit marker thing above your head when you're going to get a spell against you was very well timed, I have to say. It gave you enough time to react to the spell coming towards you, without it feeling too easy, or too much of a challenge. It's basically a really good middle ground. Wand combat in general felt so fluid. The mixture of spells combined together really well, and the fact that you couldn't just use the same spell over and over again in quick succession really made the game feel more realistic. It added to the challenge as well. Although there were a lot of enemies facing me right now, I didn't feel overwhelmed by them, but also I didn't feel like it was too easy as well. It was like the perfect middle ground, where it was a challenge but it wasn't too frustrating that I wanted to just quit the game. We were playing on normal difficulty here. There are 2 more difficulty levels above this, and 2 difficulty levels below this. So no matter how experienced you are as a gamer, there's always a difficulty level that will suit you. After we took out this first round of enemies, it was time for a boss battle. This purple robed wizard flew in, and straight away he looked pretty menacing.
You're the one we're looking for, and you two are afraid.
I missed an ample opportunity there to use my finisher straight away, instead wasting it on this other character. This is where the enemies started getting a bit vicious, and the action was so hard hitting and chaotic that sometimes I struggled to keep up. But then again, this was my first time playing this game, and we were at quite an advanced level to be doing this straight away, but it's a really good experience of what we can expect later in the game. For me, the hardest enemy here was the little goblins. They just kind of appeared out of nowhere, and would do this spell which turned them into a much larger goblin, and absolutely smack through you. As you can see here, I suddenly thought that enough was enough. It's time to bring out that inner dark wizard. So this is exactly how the Crucio curse works. After putting it on this wizard, he was immediately immobilized and left at the mercy for me to kill him off. Once all the wizards were gone, it was time to Alohomora that lock and release the dragon itself. The cinematic afterwards was absolutely fantastic and really added to the feel of the game. We were there to protect this dragon and to free it from its captors. After burning a hole in the roof, the dragon flew away, which also meant it was time for us to leave as well. After leaving the camp, it was time for me and Poppy to debrief. Mission done, it was time to reflect on the game itself, as our playtime was over for the day. So what did I actually think of the game? Hogwarts Legacy is probably my most anticipated game, and I think I've put it on a massive pedestal in terms of what I've expected from it. There's been a load of conferences and trailers about the game so far that reveal a lot of details of what we're going to expect, so naturally going into this my expectations were quite high. In total, we probably played around an hour with the game. There were bits and pieces that we can't show, which kind of expanded on the storyline a bit, and I have to say that overall I was really impressed with the game. Coming into this gameplay experience, I was absolutely terrified and so scared that this game wasn't going to live up to the potential that I thought it had. But honestly, all of the worries that I had were gone about it. I know it's easy to say this after only playing an hour and a half of select parts of it, but the high level of immersion that you had in the castle, partnered with the wild amount of combat that the game had in its missions, and the amount of lore that was contained in the game, combined together to make it such a good experience. If anybody's a Harry Potter fan, they need to play this game. Because even though Harry Potter himself, or much from the films, is actually in there, this is the feeling of actually being at Hogwarts. This is what it would feel like to be a student at the time. I know it's set in the 1800s, but not much really is that different from the 1990s setting that we're so used to seeing. The castle still feels the exact same as you've read in the books or seen in the films. Everything is moving constantly and the castle feels so alive. I know it's cliche to say because this is what they entirely marketed the game on, but you absolutely do feel like you're a Hogwarts student, and the amount of freedom that you have is excellent as well. At any point you can just jump on your broom and go explore the grounds. But even saying that, you do not need to leave the castle. The castle is absolutely huge. There's so much to explore in there. Even from this little bit of gameplay that you've seen and the amount of exploring that I did, I'd probably say that I've only explored about 1/30th of the entire castle. It is really that big. And some of the major rooms I didn't even look in as well. Like, I've not been in the library, I've not found the room requirements, I've not been in the Great Hall yet, I didn't even look at any of the dormitories. And already I'm completely blown away with how much detail there is. And I only know there's going to be more, and it's going to be even better. It's been said that it'll take 35 hours to complete the main storyline, but honestly it's going to be so much longer than that, because you are 100% going to want to take your time with this game. There's so much to explore, and there's so much to do as well. There's so many side missions and little side quests, or even little mini games. I mean, look at what we've just watched. I spent a good 5 minutes there playing Wizard Shuffleboard, and on top of that I didn't even win, which means I'm going to have to go back and practice so I can beat him. Because let's face it, we can't be doing losses here. The Wizard Dueling Club that we saw only keeps expanding further and further, so you get more and more challenges as you go on, and more reasons to test your spells. Speaking of spells, we've only seen 8 spells here, but let me tell you, there are hundreds of them. There are so many spells to pick and choose from, each doing different and amazing things, so it's up to you to find them, learn them, and then complete your perfect combination on your weapon wheels. With the weapon wheels in the bottom corner as well, you can quick change between 4 different loadouts, with each loadout containing 4 different spells, so even in the heat of battle you can quickly change your tactics in order to gain the upper hand on your enemies. Now let's move on to that special wand I talked about earlier. So this was a wand that we were given at the event, which is exclusive to Hogwarts Legacy. It's sculpted around the design of the Hogwarts castle, and I think you'll agree it looks absolutely gorgeous. This was an amazing item that will always stay with me as a fantastic memory of the event, and I must admit I have tried out a few spell movements with it, just in case it was real. You never know, you've always got to try these things. Overall, my time playing Hogwarts Legacy was an extremely enjoyable one. I learned so much about the game, and had such a good time in doing so. Honestly, I cannot wait for this game to release, selfishly so I can play it, but more so you can get the experience as well, and hopefully you can get the amount of joy that I got when I first played this game. I am a Harry Potter fan, and this game was absolutely perfect for me, and I really hope it be the exact same for you. Once again, a big thank you to Warner Brothers for providing us with this experience, and make sure to keep your eyes peeled in the coming weeks for much more Hogwarts Legacy content. I've been Ollie, and thank you so much for experiencing this with me. Without you, we never would have been invited in the first place.